media and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Is this Andre? I'm like waiting. I'm waiting. I'm like, there's got to be something coming in. I'm waiting for the verse to kick in, a bridge, a chorus, something. And it's just, this is the one I really wanted to make a rap album. Yeah. I mean, it's ambient music, right? You meditation, you know, clear thinking. I don't know. You got 800-920-1580. Let me know what you think of this sample of Andre 3000's new music. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, I am your host, Jill Munroe. Welcome to Hour 2. You know, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. This hour, we're going to get into it. You know, everybody's talking about it. The New York Post, I believe it was, released first the story about it, that Cassie is suing Sean, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love, Combs for $30 million with some serious allegations. I went through the 35 pages of the filing, and we're going to go through it here. Not all of it, but we're going to go through some of it. We're going to, you know, let you know what's in there and some things surrounding it, because that is where we are. We are. And that's where a lot of people are going to be, because, you know, there's going to be a lot of commentary surrounding this. What I can tell you is that it was filed in the Southern District, I believe it is, in New York, federal court, right? And this case, yeah, the Southern District of New York. This particular court district handles a lot of high-profile cases. As I mentioned, it is a federal court. So for those of you that were hoping you were going to get to see Diddy and Cassie in court and the lawyers and all of that, not likely to happen. This court isn't known for doing that. What they are known for is some of those sketches that you see. I think that the artist that is in that division is famous for their court sketches that they put out. So, you know, should we make it that far, that's what we'll get. But we're going to get into all of that in a second. There's a couple of other stories that I wanted to, you know, drop on you that we didn't get to, but I wanted to let you know what was going on. So Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's daughter, Zahara Marley Jolie, I think she dropped the Pitts off her last name. At any rate, she just crossed over late last night to Alpha Kappa Alpha at Spelman College. So congratulations to her. We know that Angelina was there down at Spelman supporting her daughter at when, right before school starts, when the freshmen come and they get to set up in their dorms and their apartments and everything like that. So, congrats to her. I know that that is huge and a moment that she should feel very special about. So, we love to see it. So, listen, why am I playing with you guys? Let's just get into all of the things, right? So, again, if you haven't heard, if you somehow missed it, right? Cassie, Diddy's former girlfriend of 10 years, also an artist that was signed to his label, has sued him for $30 million, alleging a lot. A lot, a lot, a whole lot. So she is accusing him of years of physical abuse, rape. She said he forced her to have sex with male prostitutes while he recorded the events. He said he also forced her into a life of drug use, heavy drug use, and so much more, right? So the New York Times, it actually was the Times, was the first one to release it. They actually sent out a media alert. In the suit, Cassie states that she met Diddy in 2005 when she was 19 years old, and that he began a pattern of control and abuse that included, as I mentioned, giving her drugs, beating her, and forcing her to have sex with a succession of male prostitutes while he filmed the encounter. In 2018, the suit says, near the end of their relationship, when she had decided that she didn't want to be with him any longer, that he forced his way into her home and forced himself on her, assaulted her, despite her denying his advances. When we come forward, we're going to get into more of that, more of the timeline, more of the details, more of when we could expect, should this go to trial, to see it, and the response from Diddy's lawyer. You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistent sin on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups, Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So we are getting into this Diddy story, Cassie, Diddy, and it is thick. And here's the thing that, a lot of people immediately thought or got into when news of this story was released. One, there have been alleged rumors about certain things regarding Diddy for years. People have known that. It's been whispered, shouted, whatever around the industry, right? And there are some that believe that Cassie stepping up in this way will cause a domino effect and that others will want to speak out too. Now, obviously, we know that we have heard through the years about the contracts, the Diddy deals, and things of that nature. We know that recently he offered to give publishing back to several bad boy artists, but it came with a caveat that Aubrey O'Day mentioned, and that was an NDA. And in it, one of the things that was stated was that you could not discuss or make disparaging remarks about Diddy or his mother in any capacity. And if you didn't agree to that, then you would not be able to get the rights back to your music. Well, some signed, some did not. Aubrey said that she did not sign. And naturally, when news came out about this lawsuit, she immediately tweeted out an old interview that she had done from years, not too old, but, some time ago. And in it, she alluded to, maybe Diddy might possibly be, a dangerous person. She also said, it's about time you guys believe me. Naturally, other people are sharing stories, finding old interview clips, and relating information as to why they think that there might be fire with this smoke. So here's a couple of things that people have brought up. We know a few weeks ago, Diddy was on Jimmy Kimmel, I believe it was. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. And right around that same time, a rumor had been released, I believe from Gene Dahl, his former bodyguard, where it was soon after the Will and Jada drama. And Gene alleged that there was some point back in the day when Diddy was dating J-Lo that he wanted to fight Will Smith because he believed that Jada and Will were trying to pick up J-Lo. Diddy denied this when Jimmy asked him that and asked him where he heard such things. He said the internet. Fast forward to now, it's looking kind of interesting, as some people are also pointing out the NDAs that are out there. There are also things like an old story that happened with J. Cole, allegedly, from a few years ago. It was some event, and this is from Complex that I'm reading from, but at the time, what happened? According to the report, Diddy was furious that J. Cole had gotten close to his girlfriend, Cassie. J. Cole didn't back down from Diddy's alleged verbal threats. A source who witnessed the drama go down at PhD, a rooftop lounge at the Dream downtown told the New York Post. This was years ago, right? J. Cole allegedly was saying inappropriate things to Diddy and Cassie. Diddy immediately pounced. Some pushing and shoving happened. No punches were thrown, but it was a visible disturbance. A few bottles splashed, etc. This was some years back, right? And there's some other things. So we'll get into some of those other rumors, but for now, let me read you a couple of things about the case that, well, the allegations that were in the filing. So Cassie says that Diddy was controlling from the very beginning of their relationship. They met in 2005 when she was 19. Of course, she was dating Ryan Leslie at the time. She says that he would often give her drugs, including ecstasy, ketamine, which she believes led to her memory loss, which she says she still deals with today. She also claimed that Diddy would beat her multiple times a year, but she was scared to report it to the police in fear that she would be abused more. In fact, in 2009, Diddy allegedly became enraged when he saw her talking to another artist, another talent agent, and he allegedly pushed her into a car, kicked her repeatedly in the face, making her bleed. The suit also said that after seeing the violent repercussions, Cassie felt that saying no to him would cost her something, whether that be her family, her friends, her career, or even her life. Now, this allegation is truly crazy in itself, another one. It said in another incident, Diddy grew so angry about her dating Kid Cudi, this was allegedly in 2012, that he blew up the Cudi's car. He said around that time, the suit explains, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. And she also claims that Diddy once hung someone off of a 17th floor balcony. She said that in the suit, she also alleges that he began coercing her to engage in a fantasy of his called voyeurism. And it says that in it, she was directed to have sex with a succession of male prostitutes while Diddy watched and entertained himself in the process. And that he also shot video of this. So one, we have to wonder, is the video somewhere around? Is that part of Cassie's case? Possibly could be. She said that the sessions were called freak-offs, and that during one of these sessions, he allegedly punched her in the face, giving her a black eye, and that it was caught on camera, but that he paid for it to disappear. So Diddy's attorney, Ben Brafman, has denied the claims in a statement to the New York Times. He said that Cassie has been demanding money from the Bad Boy Records founder. And he said, I quote, Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. For the past 6 months, Mr. Combs has been subjected to Miss Ventura's persistent demands of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. It continues that despite withdrawing her initial threat, Miss Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation and seeking a payday. Cassie's lawyer, of course, his name is Douglas Wildor, is saying something totally different. He told the New York Times that his client and Diddy spoke before she filed the lawsuit, and that Diddy actually offered her money to remain silent. So here's the thing about her lawyer, because I looked him up too, right? And he is an employee lawyer, right? And he handles cases dealing with employers and employees. As a matter of fact, one of his famous cases that he recently dealt with involved a hotel maid suing like the head of a corporation. So one, filing in New York was definitely a power move. Some of the accusations happened here in Los Angeles, California, and there is I can't remember the exact name of the new law that extends the window that people are allowed to file suits under this. Oh, and I should be clear that this is a civil lawsuit. There are no criminal charges that have been filed against Diddy. And at this point in time, as far as I'm aware, there are no plans, at least as of today, there's nothing been stated that any criminal charges will develop from this. So it's strictly a civil suit. However, as I said, Cassie's lawyer, not for the weak. He specializes in this sort of cross section, and I'm sure there are other cases, but high profile cases that involve employee employer relations and that also have an element of, assault, sexual assault involved in them. So he has experience in this area. He has tried high profile cases, and he is very experienced in the ways of New York's Southern District. It also should be said that, this is not something that will necessarily happen quickly. This is just the filing. There are lots of stages and motions that have to be gone through in something like this, discovery or whatever. If it makes it that far, it's possible a settlement could be reached beforehand. But more than likely, if it does go to trial, it won't be until sometime next year. So get ready for that. But as I mentioned, that court is very specific. They do not allow cameras. So those of you that are thinking that you will get to see all of the salacious action, you will not. That's not the way it's going down. But again, like I told you, I did go through the case and read, the filing, I should say, and read some of what Cassie is alleging. And, it is pretty intensive, right? So it starts off by saying, defendant Sean Combs is a rapper and record executive, popularly known by his stage name. He rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the 90s and as of decades is regularly referred to as a hip-hop mogul. In 2022, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award, and during his acceptance speech, he said, "I have to give a special shout out and thank you to the people that were really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, and also Cassie for holding me down in dark times. So, again, these things are coming back up. And it goes on to say, the truth, however, is that Cassie was held down by Mr. Combs and endured over a decade of his violent and disturbed demands. Those dark times were times she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse. I mentioned she said that he attacked her and assaulted her in her own home when she tried to break up with him. She mentioned that he blew up Kid Cudi's car, forced her to engage with sex workers. Listen, Cassie says that Diddy would have her go online and use search words like, I can't even really say, but to find male prostitutes that were big, black, and loaded to bring over to the situation. She said that he pressured her for years. He knew that she had a boyfriend. He still pursued her and put her in situations because she was signed to Bad Boy where she felt she couldn't afford to say no. That he showed up uninvited to her 21st birthday party with lavish gifts to impress her friends. That initially he played the role of like concerned older brother or dad. She does mention that his age, he is 20 years older than her almost. In their relationship, she felt played a part in it. She is alleging that, for some of her physical ailments that she went through, he even had access to her medical records, that her medical records were directed to go there, that there were times when she tried to escape from him. He had people track her down. I mean, it's very serious, very controlling allegations. One of the things, the story about him beating her up and hitting her in the face, the irony is that that is a story, almost word for word, the way that it is written in this document that has been circulating online and on one of the popular online message boards for years, a message board called Lipstick Alley, literally word for word, probably more than 13 years ago, that story was relayed. So again, it's going to be really, really interesting to watch. And this was she's coming at it from an employer and employee perspective. So there are different sort of elements that can be brought in. I'm obviously not a lawyer, so I am not qualified to break that aspect of it down, but let's get into how she said he lured her into a relationship. She said despite her clear rejection of his advances, Diddy continued to demand that Cassie spend time with him, including a weekend at his residence in Miami and for nights out in New York City. On one particular night around September of 2007, she said that he insisted on taking her out and that she feared rejecting the request, it would have caused repercussions for her album and her deal with Bad Boy Records. She said that he picked her up at her apartment in Manhattan in a blue luxury vehicle and that when she got in the car, she was surprised that Diddy was already inebriated. She said he handed her a pill and told her to take it. When she asked what the pill was, he dismissed her and told her that she would like it. She said she later learned that it was ecstasy, something that she had never tried before. And that was the first time, she said, that he got her high. And she said he proceeded to drive recklessly at very high speeds down the West Side Highway of Manhattan. She was scared, but she didn't want to object because he already appeared to be drunk, high, and agitated. She said when they arrived at an upscale lounge in downtown Manhattan, he proceeded to get an altercation with the security of the venue because they would not let him in, presumably because he was belligerent. Right? Cassie decided to go home that night. She said that he became incessantly complaining that she had left him high and alone. He then used his influence to create a fake flyer that she could show to her then boyfriend at the time, I believe Ryan Leslie, to say that she had an appearance in Miami to lure her down to Miami so that Ryan wouldn't come so that he could get her alone. She said she was uncomfortable with it, but went through it anyway for fear of repercussion. Listen, there is more to get into, more dots to connect. We will get into more about this Cassie and Diddy story and more trending topics and headlines on RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A city council member is throwing his support behind former Black Mayor Sheila Dixon for her bid for the 2024 Democratic mayoral nomination. 11th District City Councilman Eric Costello endorsed Dixon, saying, quote, City Hall has reached a level of dysfunction, end quote, that he never thought was possible. Last month, Baltimore City Delegate Sandy Rosenberg endorsed Dixon after backing Mayor Brandon Scott in 2020. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is making moves to address the future effects of climate change in Maryland. The governor, who is Black, has appointed Megan Conklin as Maryland's first Chief Sustainability Officer. In addition, Michael Henson will become the first ever Chief Resilience Officer in the Old Line State. Governor Moore is relying on both leaders to help make the state cleaner, greener, and more sustainable. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Life's next adventure begins here. The Village at Sherman Oaks and the Village at Northridge. Full-service, award-winning SRG senior living communities. Take advantage of all-inclusive monthly fees starting at $5,200. Limited availability. Visit retireatthevillages.com.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Beloved Entertainment presents Sweet Spot Live with Angelique Francis, host of KBLA's Living in the Sweet Spot at the beautiful Miracle Theater, 226 South Market Street in Inglewood, Sunday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Join me, Tavis Smiley, and KBLA Talk 1580 for real short stories told live on stage by our own storytellers, straight from the neighborhood, celebrating our unique culture, our strengths, our courage, our faith, and of course, our fire. Come walk with us through the neighborhoods, sit at our kitchen tables, even run with us down our dark alleys if you dare. But just know that in the sweet spot, there is love and laughter, joy and pain, secrets never told. Again, that's Sweet Spot Live with Angelique Francis, Sunday, November 19th at the Miracle Theater, 226 South Market Street in Inglewood at 6 p.m. Tickets available at sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. That's sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. Sweet Spot Live, we've got a lot to talk about.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Discover, this is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? 'Cause everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
So long, I'm here to answer your call. I know that talking about the way I do what I do. They heard I was good, they wanna see if it's true.
Welcome back in. You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are breaking down and getting into the details of Cassie's $30 million lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. Listen, one of the things that, people mention and talk about, not often, but it is the idea that as much as, people are for women, get the bag, get a rich figure paying my, all of that stuff, right? There's an element of control, right? No matter if we're talking of the age difference, any of that. If someone is paying all of your bills and funding a lifestyle, there is an element of control that you cannot escape. That is the reality of it. That is not, that's not to say that every person that is wealthy or every, in that position is going to be controlling or abusive, like Cassie is alleging for him. But it's just there's a certain dynamic that comes when you can't pay for yourself. You know that. Think about the situations. We have all of these conversations all of the time about, men think women are going to dinner with them because they're hungry or they want to try a new restaurant or whatever. Think about the idea. It sounds all fun. It's all fun and games until you want to, buy chicken instead of turkey for dinner and your person won't give you the extra $10 or your credit card to do so. So there's a lot of layers here, a lot of aspects of it that can be debated, and I'm sure will, because as I said, this isn't going to be something that is going to wrap up quickly or that we're going to get a bunch of more, as far as right now at least, things that come out from the initial filing. Like I said, it's not going to be this filing happens and they're in court next week. It's going to take some time. But I do think potentially there could be some other people out there, if this proves to be correct, that might want to support Cassie. And, again, we'll have to see. As mentioned, he's an employee, an employer attorney, a labor attorney. So, there's lots of complicated things. So I mentioned that there was a section in the brief, page 17, if you're curious or found it, where it talks about some of the websites and escort services that Diddy allegedly had Cassie visit. This is what it says. It says, Ms. Ventura was eventually instructed to use websites and escort services to find male sex workers to participate in the freak-offs. Mr. Combs told Ms. Ventura to search for a large black, you fill in the eggplant word, right, on the website. Sometimes, she said, Mr. Combs would pay to fly the male sex workers to his locations, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. He required Ms. Ventura and his staff to help him make the arrangements. Mr. Combs' assistants would help to set up the freak-offs, including setting up the hotel suites with baby oil and Astroglide. This is in the filing. Okay. It also says Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura and the sex worker with tons of drugs before and during the freak-off. Miss Ventura was given ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in excessive amounts during the freak-offs, which allowed her to disassociate herself during those horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after the freak-offs to recover from the excessive substances that were pushed upon her. She said she was required to dress up in lingerie for the freak-offs, and that Diddy insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the men the black men he hired to have sex with her. They also say that during the freak-offs, Mr. Combs would instruct Miss Ventura to pour excessive amounts of oil all over herself. He would then instruct her and the sex worker to speak to each other and then would specifically tell Cassie where to touch the sex workers. He would say things like, grab that big black beep, and ask her how does it feel as he directed her to perform for him. They also said that during these sessions, in addition to directing her and pleasuring himself, that Diddy would use his phone, laptop, and tablet to film her having sex with the hired worker. He then forced the encounter as a personal pet project, adjusting the candles he used for lighting and to frame the videos so that they had a certain look. She said she quickly deleted any photographs or videos of the sex act if they were on her phone, but Mr. Combs repeatedly made it clear that he retained many of the videos of her during the freak-off sessions. She said even when the deleted videos, even when she deleted the videos, he would tell her that he was always able to recover the deleted videos from her devices. And on one occasion, he sat next to her on a flight and made her watch the video she thought he deleted, reinforcing her inability to escape and the immense power that he held over her. Again, like I said, that's on pages 17 and 18 of the brief. You can read more for yourself. We'll get a little more into it. I also want to mention that a few years back, there was a woman named Gina. She was a girlfriend. We remember, I think it was earlier this summer or late last year, she actually was arguing on Instagram and Twitter with Young Miami because she and Diddy broke up. She made several accusations. She even went on Tasha K to discuss these accusations, but later got back with him. She claimed that he kicked her in the stomach, hit her in the head, just all, types of serious abuse, again, accusations that people said was a money grab that people kind of overlooked because she chose to go to Tasha K's platform and express this. Some people thought that she wasn't credible. And then, the fact that she eventually got back with him and was wearing the love necklace and, showing love for Diddy after the fact. We know that things are complicated when we talk about domestic violence victims and some of the moves they make and the reasons behind it. And it's a very layered and complex subject, so it's hard to attack it from one side or just not to be able to view all types of things that happen with this because motivations are different for everyone in staying, in coming back, in, being deeper involved in this. So when we come forward, we're going to get into more of this story, more of some of the past rumors, and more trending topics and headlines. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Ask any former youth in foster care what they missed most while growing up, and they will most likely answer, someone to show me unconditional love. Now, isn't that something we all wished we could experience? Here in Los Angeles, up to 40% of homeless youth on our streets identify as LGBTQ+. The most prevalent reason for homelessness among this population is the rejection they've experienced from their own families. The LA County Department of Children and Family Services and Raise a Child are searching for safe, nurturing, and affirming foster parents within our community willing to stand up and serve all children and youth in foster care, especially LGBTQ youth. Learn the many benefits to becoming a foster parent. Attend a free Raise a Child virtual or in-person informational event to learn more. RSVP now at raiseachild.org. That's raiseachild.org. And thank you.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are going through the legal brief that was filed in New York Southern District on behalf of Cassie Ventura. She is suing Sean Diddy Combs for $30 million, alleging a lot. So listen, Cassie said in 2005, Diddy pursued her even though she was in a relationship, and he too was in a relationship with Kim Porter. So of course, people are bringing up things surrounding Kim Porter and her untimely passing, and some of the comments that I'll Be Sure made at the time, alleging that there was some foul play surrounding Kim's death. Some are also pointing out that in 2005, when Diddy was still with Kim, there were rumors that during a trip, Diddy allegedly damaged Kim's nose badly because he was jealous that she had started seeing an actor, and that Diddy allegedly threatened or physically did put hands on this particular actor. So again, there are a lot of old stories, old rumors that are being brought to the surface, that people are discussing, that people are, trying to connect the dots to. So another thing that was mentioned in the case was that Cassie said, Mr. Combs' aggressive and demanding approach to those he worked with made it impossible for anyone to challenge him, and Miss Ventura soon learned that Mr. Combs insisted on blind loyalty from everyone in his inner circle, which we see that. We see him allude to things like that on Instagram and Twitter. We have for years, right? She said Mr. Combs paid for things with wads of cash and would repeatedly tell her, "Don't worry about it, I have money." He lavished expensive vacations for him and her, purchased a car for her, paid for an apartment, and provided her with extensive amounts of designer clothing. She said around 2008 or 2009, he began to rent an apartment in Manhattan for her. The apartment was within walking distance of his New York residence. He first showed her the apartment by bringing her there along with her parents. Her parents were skeptical of, she said, his displays of wealth, but proud of their daughter's newfound success. She said around 2010, he similarly paid for an apartment for her in Los Angeles that was again about 5 minutes away from his residence. She said that he paid for several apartments in California and also purchased a Jaguar for her. I'm assuming they mean the car and not the animal, in 2013 or 2014. She said that all aspects of her life were controlled by either him or his management companies. Every event she attended, from travel to makeup to clothing, was paid for directly by Diddy or his affiliated companies, which also leads into why this civil suit is being handled by, again, an employer-employee relations attorney. She said that compounding all of this all-encompassing intrusion into her life, that he also introduced her, as we've mentioned, to the drug-fueled lifestyle that kept her complacent and compliant. She said that she was first introduced to opiates around 2008 by him, and that he would often have pills and other drugs out in the open like candy. She was the belief that he had been addicted to prescription drugs and painkillers, and he looked to have a friend to, connect with over that, and that he took ecstasy frequently as well. She said that she was given prescriptions that Diddy received from a doctor in Miami. Eventually, when he exhausted the supply of pills, he demanded that Cassie procure prescriptions from the Miami doctor in her own name. She said that he became so deeply involved in her personal life that he would have his personal staff attending to her day-to-day travel and other needs, including medical care. She said on multiple occasions, he had her personal medical records sent directly to his email address. For example, when she first said that she began experiencing memory loss, potentially due to the excessive drug use and or head injuries that she's alleging were caused by his beatings, that her MRI results were sent directly to him, and that he repeatedly arranged for his staff to drive her to certain doctor's appointments. She said in this way he exerted ownership over her, and as another example of the ways in which he manipulated her and ensured obedience early on in their relationship, he asked what she called her grandfather. When she said that she referred to her grandfather as Pop Pop, he perversely insisted that she start calling Diddy Pop Pop as well. So, it's a lot. She said that what first started off as whirlwind celebrity meetings and drug and alcohol-fueled parties quickly turned violent. She said that she was exposed to the intense violence that the rise to fame took her on. She said that one night they were using drugs together in his home, and one of his security staff barged in and announced that Suge Knight was spotted at Mel's drive-in, that's on Sunset Boulevard, and that Diddy began to get dressed. Rich C went and got multiple guns from a safe and ran out of his home to where he believed that Suge was dining. And Cassie said she was so scared that she began to cry. She said on at least 2 occasions, Diddy demanded that she hold the blicky in her purse. She said that she had no familiarity with the gun or guns and was petrified that the firearm might actually go off in her purse. Now, we know that back in the day, there was an incident that involved Diddy and J-Lo and Shine in a New York nightclub. I'm just saying that, innocent until proven guilty, of course. However, there are some things that look and sound a tad familiar. Obviously, we won't know for quite some time, but it does sound similar to some of the things we've heard before. She also said over the next decade, multiple times each year, Diddy would violently beat her, leaving bruises on her body. And after every instance in which he beat her, she said that he used his money and power to orchestrate extensive efforts to hide the evidence of his abuse, including hiding her in hotels for days at a time to let the bruises heal. In one such instance, she said it was an after party with Jay-Z, and he beat her repeatedly in an Escalade, including kicking and hitting her, that he forced her out of the vehicle on Fifth Avenue in New York City, and she eventually had to hail a cab and get to her apartment in Manhattan. And she said that she was fearful because she couldn't tell anyone what was happening to her from this extremely powerful man. She said she spent 3 days hiding in her apartment. She said that in 2009, after he learned that she spoke to another music manager at a party, he became enraged, and she thought he would be happy for her, but instead he became extremely angry, pulled her out of the club where the party was taking place, and into a car where he beat her, pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face. She said that his security staff, Roger Bonds, tried to stop the beating but was unable to de-escalate the situation, and that when the car arrived at his residence and she attempted to run away, he followed her and proceeded to kick her again. So again, like I said, this story is going to continue to evolve. I do expect that we will hear something from other people. You know, things are already starting to come out. People are starting to bring up the parties that Diddy used to have back in the day with Usher, when he worked with Usher on his first album. There are all types of things that they are trying to connect the dots to. I just hope that, you know, if any portion of this is true, that Cassie has continued on her healing journey and that she feels safe and secure. You know, I don't know. It's just a very difficult situation. DJ Black 909 in the chat says, Diddy blowing up Kid Cudi's car, and we're just now hearing about it after all these years. Believe it or not, there are some things that happen in the industry that do stay silent. You know, there also was the rumors about Diddy slapping Drake, and we didn't hear about that from a time period. There are definitely things that can be kept quiet if need be. Just depends on who's in the circle. So when we come forward, we're going to get into the baby. He said that God had to sit him down and it cost him $200 million. We're going to get into that. Later in hour 3, we're going to have an interview with Swizz Beatz and his son, Nasir, about the new series Drive that's dropping on Hulu. It's all about car culture. And we're going to have interviews coming up with the 2 co-directors of the Tyler Perry documentary, Maxine's Baby. All of that and more. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
About the way I do what I do. They heard I was good. They wanna see if it's true. They know you're the one I wanna give it to. I can see you on me too. And now it's me, it's me. Now baby, I've been waiting for you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the